This is Creating Your Encore Career and Becoming a Silver Entrepreneur with your host, Lynn Freest. Lynn will share ideas and expert advice from people that are walking in your shoes and living their encore careers, where they want and at the pace they want. You'll start a company of one with confidence and knowledge to live a fulfilled life of freedom and ease. Lynn is a coach and leadership consultant whose mission is to show senior leaders and experts how to start something refreshing and new after a full career in the corporate environment.
Welcome to this episode of the podcast, Creating Your Encore Career and Becoming a Silver Entrepreneur. Making the leap from being a corporate leader and expert into becoming a solopreneur can be daunting, but the rewards are great. You can work when you want, where you want, and you can do the work you love. And I can be that guide and thinking partner to help you get there. As your coach, I'll help you go farther and faster based on what I've learned from being on this journey for several years. So if you're even having some thoughts about starting an Encore career, please contact me. This is episode 143, and it's called The Next Steps in Your Encore Career. I've talked a lot about, what is an Encore career? Why do we need it? Those kinds of things. But now I want to start getting into some of the specifics of actually, how do you make it happen? And again, just as a quick recap, there's some important reasons why you should consider it. These things come from a book called Super Age by Bradley Sherman. And he says, 20% of the people are of age 60 or older. That's basically like 1 out of 5. And by 2034, there are going to be more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 18. So, from what Bradley Sherman says, older people are essential to the full functioning of our economy. And for those people in business that are waiting for the young people to show up, it's actually not going to happen, not in the quantity that's needed. On the other hand, they still have to help people develop. And I would say that as modern elders, we have that ability to help develop new talent. So what I want to start talking about today is how do you actually create this Encore career for yourself? And foundationally, what I'm going to be talking about is a book from a teacher and good friend of mine, Mike Kim, and he wrote the book, You Are the Brand. And the subtitle is The 8-Step Blueprint to Showcase Your Unique Expertise and Build a Highly Profitable and Personally Fulfilling Business. So again, this gets into the nuts and bolts of, okay, now we think we want to have an Encore career. How do we actually do it? And while I'll cover these things in future episodes, basically here are the 8 steps that he proposes. We start with things like, what's our point of view? Then we move on to personal stories. We have to be able to explain to people what it is and why we're doing it. And then we go into things like platform. Okay, how do you actually present yourself in business, as it were, now that you're on your own? Positioning, things like products or services. What is it you're going to offer? Pricing, how do you charge what your value is in the marketplace? Pitch gets again back to how am I going to convince people that I can provide value that they need? And then finally, Mike will share about partners. And a lot of this it's both partners that can help you move ahead, as well as partners that can help you develop. So it's a combination, interesting thing. But it all begins with the point of view and the personal stories. So I want to remind you, now as an independent company of one worker, you are not your position or your title. You're not your profession. Just saying your profession means you're one of a million, not one in a million. And you're probably, especially if you've got some experience you're not your education. People really won't be impressed by fancy degrees or institutions. You're going to have to be able to show and tell potential clients how you'll solve their problems, not tell them how smart you are or what you've done or things like that. You have to be able to express very clearly to them how you can help them. How do you add value to the things that they care about? Now, there's a couple of useful questions that come from a story from 1,000 years ago. A person was saying the 2 key questions in life are, who am I and what am I doing here? Those are the fundamental things you have to decide for yourself as you create your own business. And that's where the You Are the Brand process starts. And Mike likes to phrase it this way. He starts with what he calls his PB3, 3 personal branding questions. The first question is, what pisses you off? What makes you angry? What bothers you about what's going on in the world or in your profession maybe? What breaks your heart? Where do you see there's things that could be different, could be better, and aren't? And then finally, more of the business question is, okay, Ned, what problem will you solve? So to give you an example, for me, what pisses me off? Well, this whole idea of dealing with ageism in the workplace and in culture. For me, it exemplified it when I was late in my career. Was the reason I was given for being turned down for a job was they said, Lynn, this is a developmental role, which not too subtly said, we want a younger person in there that we're going to get more value out of after they do this job. Again, for me, it made no sense. People were staying in jobs 3-5 years. I had that much time and could easily create value. And then, yes, there'd be somebody else that follows me. So what breaks your heart? For me, it was seeing talented elders forced onto the sidelines or maybe left on the sidelines. I had colleagues and stuff that, in conversation, they said, I'd really like to continue using my expertise in some way, but I don't know how. And it doesn't seem to be very easy to do that. So they might throw up their name on a website or they might post something on a LinkedIn profile, but they didn't know how to take it farther than that. And so, for me, it was both heartbreaking to see them not being able to contribute, but also thinking about what the loss was for companies out there who I could say, I heard companies saying we don't have enough talent. We need to develop talent, all those kinds of things. So it was just breaking my heart that both these things were happening and they didn't have to be. So we get to the third question. What's the big problem you'll solve? Well, for me, I guess in one way to say it is I want to help modern elders create a fulfilling encore career. And I want, as I said earlier, I want them to work where they want, when they want, and do the work they love because it's needed out there. People can find value, but we have to connect the people who need it with the people who have the expertise. So another question you ask yourself as you're trying to create your encore career is, so how did I learn to do the things I'm doing? Well, in terms of being prepared to help people with an encore career, I've been on about a 7-year journey. Now, I didn't start out there. I started out saying, well, I'm going to be a manufacturing consultant. And I really, truly did that for several years. But then as I got, farther into it and kind of saw this bigger problem, I wanted to turn and address that. But early on in 2015, even before I retired, actually, I attended a conference called Permission to Prosper, something way outside my normal experience. It was just how to get the right mindset to be an entrepreneur. But coincidentally, during that time, at the table I was sitting were 4 people who have really helped shape my future career. One, obviously, Mike Kim, who wrote this book, but then there's Jody Mearberry, who's an expert in podcasting, Andy Traub, who is an expert in technology and other kinds of things that help you as a entrepreneur. And finally, Steve Curdy, who is an actual rocket scientist, but his goal in life, his big mission was to help kids learn technology. He did summer camps for that all over the U.S. So he was an inspiration. He wanted to teach thousands of kids how to use technology. Now, in terms of getting back to the business ideas, also in 2015, I attended a camp by Jonathan Milligan called The 7 Streams of Income. So again, this brought into my awareness, okay, here's how people actually can make money and are making money doing the things that they love, doing the things they're good at. But from there, I kind of went into, again, my consulting for manufacturing. So starting in 2016 and for the next several years, I did a lot of consulting work for the Chamber of Commerce, helping small and medium-sized manufacturers. Again, that was pretty useful because I got to hear, I came from the big corporate background, but I got to hear more and more of how small manufacturers and entrepreneurial manufacturers, all these people were trying to do their work. So again, different perspective from what I'd had in my history. But then getting back into some specifics I realized I needed some help on some of this. I wasn't necessarily a really good copywriter or writer. So in 2017, I got help by hiring a part-time virtual assistant. Not a great amount of time, just a little bit. But this was a person who has got great skills, talent, and could really improve what I was saying and what I was writing. Then in 2018, again, maybe kind of a detour, but it helped inform me in a lot of things. I got involved with a very rigorous training program to become a coach on emotional intelligence. And for that, it was probably a couple things. One, obviously the subject was interesting and always valuable and really brought up my skill sets in that arena. But also it got me involved with an international set of people. So all of a sudden I got the chance to interact with a wide variety of people. Now, many of the issues they were dealing with respect to, helping people be successful was the same whether you're from India or Austria or anywhere in the world. And I still am connected with this group of people, and I consider it an honor to be able to share with them. Then we get to 2019, I began this podcast. Again, it started out in manufacturing and actually went that way for almost 100 episodes, although I started interspersing the Encore Career idea and switched it over to that in episode 100, full-time, helping people begin Encore Careers. 2021, I did my first, quote, public webinar, an online webinar, something outside of my normal activities, but I had some people that supported me in doing that and helped me create the skills that I needed to create this online webinar. And then in 2022 here, just earlier this year, I was able to join an online course with the Modern Elder Academy. Again, great opportunity to find a global group of people, but who are all focused in that whole same arena. What do we do in the second half of our adult life? What do we do as far as work or purpose or just what are the things? How do we make transitions now that we're in the middle part of life? So all of these things have kind of helped shape me as to what I can do and how I can help people to create their own Encore careers. So during this time, who have I helped? Well, it's been people in a variety of business. I've been since before I left the corporate world, I was an executive coach. But I've helped people begin their second careers, help people develop as corporate executives, help people who were leading on the front lines of an organization, develop as business leaders, and to help them develop other business leaders. And then I've also coached coaches. So it's been a marvelous opportunity for me to help others. So what have I helped them with? Well, I've helped them with just by listening to them, being curious about what they were exploring. And I also often offer up new perspectives for them to consider. And sometimes just offering a new perspective can help them get unstuck or see possibilities that, for whatever reason, they just hadn't been visible to them. I also sometimes propose new connections. So I've mentioned the wide variety of things that either I've read about or groups I've been involved with. With all these variety of people I've been, along with my corporate career, I can see connections between different things or new patterns that maybe will help them as they create their new career. And then finally, I've been told multiple times that I seem to have a knack for convening groups and peer discussions. So whether it be a group coaching program or just facilitating meetings, people have often said, Lynn, we'd like you to do that for us. So I've done it many times in my life. I don't even think of it as a skill, but it is interesting. People said I seem to add value when I do that. So that's what we're going to cover for this one, which is just this starting point. So it's a little bit about You Are the Brand by Mike Kim. Again, we're getting into the nuts and bolts of how do you create your Encore career. And his subtitle is The 8-Step Blueprint to Showcase Your Unique Expertise and Build a Highly Profitable and Personally Fulfilling Business. And we start off with the 3 key questions. What pisses you off? In my case, it was dealing with ageism in the workplace and culture. What breaks your heart? For me, it was seeing talented elders forced onto the sidelines. And finally, what big problem will you solve? For me, I want to help modern elders create a fulfilling Encore career. Well, with that, remember, in an Encore career, the rewards are great. You can work when you want, where you want, and do the work you love. And as your coach, I can help you go farther and faster based on what I've learned from being on this journey for several years. You know I have the time, attention, and money to make this leap, so let me help you. So if you're even having thoughts about starting an Encore career, please contact me and see how I can help you get that first step done in creating your new life. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.